We all feel it, right? That little pinch when you buy groceries or fill up your car. But what if I told you that inflation isn't just about rising prices? What if it's actually a hidden system? A quiet engine that's constantly transferring wealth from some people to others right under our noses. Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on that whole story. You know, this quote just hits the nail on the head. Inflation isn't some random storm that hits everyone the same way. No, it's more like a calculated current that pulls wealth from one shore and deposits it on another. And the big question is, which side of the river are you on? Let's figure that out. All right, first up, the universal pinch. We've got to start with that feeling we all know, that frustrating sense that something's just off with our money. I mean, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Your paycheck feels the same, but somehow the grocery cart isn't as full. The number at the gas pump just keeps climbing. It feels like you're running just to stay in the same place. That's inflation's most obvious calling card. But here's where we find our first real clue in this mystery. The problem isn't just that things are getting more expensive. The real secret is that your dollar is actually shrinking. So here's the textbook definition, but let's make it simple. At its heart, inflation is all about a loss of purchasing power. It means that every single dollar in your bank account, every bill in your wallet, it just doesn't have the same muscle it used to. It's getting weaker. Think of it like this, right? That $20 bill is the exact same piece of paper it was last year, but its power, what it can actually command in the real world, has gone way down. The note itself hasn't changed, but its value, its usefulness, has been quietly slipping away. Okay, now this is where things get really interesting. See, this loss of value doesn't happen to everything and everyone all at once. It's more like a giant economic race, and not everyone gets to start at the same time. Some get a huge head start, while others are basically left at the starting line. And this is the absolute key to the whole thing. It's not about one big wave of inflation hitting the shore. It's that the wave hits different parts of the economy at different times. And that lag, that timing difference, that's the little gap where this quiet transfer of wealth really gets going. So here's how this race usually plays out. First, boom, prices for the stuff we need every day, food, gas, you name it, they take off like a rocket. Then you see asset values, things like real estate and stocks, start to climb as people scramble for a safe place to put their money. And who comes in dead last, struggling to catch up? For most of us, it's our wages. So, with a race like this, with its staggered starts and different speeds, you inevitably end up with two very clear groups, the winners and the losers. Let's lay out exactly who's who. And this is probably the most important thing to get. Wealth isn't just vanishing into thin air. It's being moved. Inflation is basically a silent tax on savers and anyone earning a regular wage. But at the same time, it's a silent subsidy for people who own assets or hold debt. It's a massive shift of wealth happening with no debate, no vote, nothing. So over here on the losing side, you've got people whose financial life is pretty rigid. Your cash in the bank is losing value every single day. That fixed pension doesn't buy what it used to, and your salary just can't keep up. But on the winning side, well, if you have a fixed-rate mortgage, you're now paying it back with cheaper dollars. And if you own assets like a house, its price is likely going up. Okay, so you're probably asking, why? How does this actually work? Let's dive into the mechanics of why some people get ahead and others just can't seem to catch a break in this race. For the losers, it's often like they're standing still on a financial treadmill that's speeding up. You know, holding cash feels safe, but inflation is quietly eating away at its value. A fixed salary or a pension becomes a ticket to falling behind as the cost of living just keeps climbing. They're financially static in a world that's anything but. The winners, though, they're positioned to ride this wave. I mean, think about it. If you took out a huge loan 10 years ago, paying it back today with today's inflated, weaker money is a massive win for you. And if you own assets, a house, stocks, whatever, their price tag tends to swell right along with inflation, acting like a shield for your wealth. Now, when you zoom out from these individual stories of winning and losing, a much bigger, more systematic picture comes into focus. This isn't just some random shuffle of money. It's a force that actively makes existing economic divides even wider. And that's the long-term consequence, right there. The whole system is set up to reward owning things over earning a wage. So as inflation churns on, it takes that gap between the people who own assets and the people who depend on a paycheck, and it just stretches it wider and wider and wider. This chart just says it all. Look at that huge bar on the left. That's asset prices shooting for the moon. Now look at that tiny little bar next to it. That's real wage growth, meaning what your salary can actually buy you. It's barely budging. You are literally watching the wealth gap expand on a single slide. So, if this whole system quietly helps one group and hurts another, why don't we hear more about it? Why isn't there a bigger uproar? Well, the answer really lies in just how sneaky and subtle the whole thing is. Yeah, inflation doesn't send you a bill in the mail. It doesn't happen in one big, dramatic event you can point to. It's a slow, steady leak, a few cents at the grocery store, a couple of dollars at the gas station. It's so gradual that it's tough to get angry about any single moment, even though the total effect over years is absolutely massive. And here it is, the final piece of the puzzle. Who is often the biggest borrower of all? The government. For them, inflation is an incredibly useful, quiet little policy tool. It lets them pay back their trillions in debt with money that's worth less than when they borrowed it. It's a backdoor way to handle their balance sheet that's a whole lot easier politically than raising taxes or cutting spending. So, we end up right back where we started. Understanding inflation isn't really about complicated economic charts. It's about understanding power. It's about